Welcome back to another episode of Solemn Arms. Today on the podcast, I have Bacon Operator. Bacon Operator, how's your day going?
It's going great, man. How's yours?
It's doing well. Besides the road today, I had stomach issues, so I couldn't go to work. So that part sucked. But so Bacon Operator, would you mind telling us what you did in your time in the military?
Sorry, I was coughing. What did you say?
Would you mind telling us what you did with your time in the military?
I started out in 2004. Went to boot camp. Was a radio operator. Went to 29 Palms. Spent 6 weeks at 29 Palms. So that was like June, July. Got to my first unit at Camp Lejeune. Like September-ish. By October, I volunteered to go to Iraq. By March, so what, a year in, was on my way to Iraq, boots on the ground, to Camp Ramadi, or the town Ramadi, just happened to be Camp Ramadi. We were on a base called Blue Diamond just outside of Camp Ramadi. Spent 7 months there, came back. I went back in 2007. I was with artillery at the time. We didn't do artillery that time. We were a personal security detachment for a general. And then the second time we went over, part of us did artillery, and then the other did route clearance for the Army. Or anybody actually. We worked with the Army. We would go clear route IDs before anybody went out. Ooh, what happened?
Okay. So to decided to press the button on my power strip and literally unplug my mixer, my screens, and everything. So my mixer went down, my all my screens went down. Our stream's still up, just they saw literally nothing. Mercury, you're a fucking asshole. Go lay down. So we left off with you talking about Iraq.
So I went there the second time, another 7-month tour. Part of us did artillery, part of us did, it was kind of like a split ops thing. They did artillery, we did route clearance with the Army and cleared any route that they needed us to clear, whether it was a vehicle convoy, a foot patrol, something like that. We'd go out and get blown up before they did. So we did that. I enlisted while I was over there, got back, went to Washington, D.C. for 3 years, got orders, went to California, did a stint with the Navy on a Marine Expeditionary Unit on a ship, spent 18 months with them. 7 of those months being deployed, went to, I couldn't even tell you how many different ports: Malaysia, Hong Kong, Singapore, Djibouti, Africa, Jordan. A select few people did get to see, what is it? It's in Transformers movie. It's like one of the 7 wonders of the world. I forget what it's called. Came back.
Not too sure.
Went on recruiting duty and then got out. Jumped around job to job. And now for the past 6 years, I've been in law enforcement.
Okay. So what was that transition like into military, into law enforcement?
Well, I should have got into it sooner. I spent a year and a half jumping job to job. So like I I'd always wanted to be in law enforcement. I've always wanted to be a police officer. I just never did it when I got out, like right out of the military, and I should have.
Yeah.
But once I got in, it was, you had that sense of belonging, like the military, I guess.
Mhm.
And that's probably one reason why I've kept doing it so long. Well, that is one of the reasons, but I mean, the other reason is like I've always wanted to help people. Like I get mad. I don't get mad, but I mean, like I feel bad when I can't help somebody. So, but I mean, I tell people all the time, you know, what I get out of this is what I get out of my job, and I have several stories on that, but
Yeah.
I mean, but the transition was, you know, you went through academy, and it was just like, I wouldn't say it's just like boot camp because it's kind of a joke. Well, the academy I went through, I mean, it was like you know, you the first day you get there, get on your face, and I'm just sitting there laughing like, are you serious? You know?
It was basically a walk in the park compared to boot camp.
Oh yeah, especially Marine Corps boot camp.
I forget you're a Marine. That's right. Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing.
You know how many people gave me crayons?
That's the small thing.
So, but the transition was, I mean, it's fairly easy coming from a military background. You have the camaraderie for the most part. I mean, it is the spitting image of the military. To be honest with you, it's like you have the camaraderie, but at the same time, you know, you always have those few people that like are just there.
Yeah,
you don't build that bond with them, or you try, but you know, you don't get it. Like they don't get it. So, but I mean, most people come from a military background for the academy that I went through, but they also had, it was either a military background or they came from a family of military. So like they knew what the camaraderie was. So to answer the question short, it was an easy transition, but I mean, it was comfortable, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
Like it wasn't outside the box. It wasn't something, I mean, was it something new? Yes. But once you got there, it felt, I wouldn't say like home, but you know, it was comfortable.
So now, was the uncomfortability reassuring for you on that part then? A little
Yeah.
bit?
After day one, I mean, I wasn't really nervous. I mean, I went through academy in 2017. So it was like, and I got out in 2016. So it was like a year and a half, I guess.
Yeah.
So I got out February 2016, went to the police academy September of 2017. That part was easy. It was the part after that I struggled with. And what I mean by that is, so I did military for almost 12 years, 11 years, 10 months, and 28 days to be exact. That's what my DD 214 says. Yes, almost 6 years later, I still have that number memorized. But the hard part, like I'm used to working shift work or working when you're told to work, or you know, working long hours. It's nothing new. But going through the training after you graduate was the hard. That wasn't the hard part. I was getting like 4 hours of sleep a night. I was eating once a day. I lost 20 pounds in 2 weeks after gaining weight in the academy from working out all the time. So,
yeah,
I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't say it was necessarily a PTSD moment. I mean, it could have been, and I made the decision to quit at that point, and I did for 6 months. And then stayed in contact with some people at the department that I used to work for because I don't work there anymore. I work for a department closer to home now. That's a much better environment, but we won't get into that. So I was able to come back and I dealt with it a whole lot better. I mean, I just call it a hiccup or a bump in the road. I mean, I realized after I quit, I was like, that was stupid. And it took me 6 more months to get back into it. And I mean, I don't see myself like, I know how I felt when I quit. And I don't want to feel like that again. So it's like that was dumb because I truly enjoy this job.
Well, that's how it goes. So, do you have any funny stories from your time in basic training?
Basic training. I mean, I got in a few fights, but I don't think.
That's something we don't hear often on the podcast. It's got a few fights in basic training.
You know, it's a Marine Corps boot camp, man.
I mean, that's fair. That's a fair point. Like, I've heard people casually say, you know, we had like 1 or 2 fights on this one. I got into a few.
Oh, yeah, there's plenty of, you know, I mean, the drill instructors never knew. I mean, I've seen fights, you know, they take them into the, whatever that room is that holds all the gear, the cleaning equipment and stuff. I forget what they call it, but they'd lock them in there and they'd go to town beating the crap out of each other or whatever. They'd come out all bloody and bruised. But I mean, my drill instructors never knew about the fight or the couple fights that I got into, but we were on the range that week. I do remember that. And the drum that would not, it was the range coach was like, what happened to your eye? I was like, I fell. And he's like, are you sure?
Right.
So, I fell.
That's totally not military way of saying, don't worry about it.
I was solely prepared for you to ask, what are some funny stories in your job now? But yeah, you made me think on that one because I've done it since I've thought about boot camp.
All right. So in your current job now, what is the most out there thing you've seen?
What's the most what?
Out there thing that you've seen? Like random.
I mean,
I'm assuming in 6 years, there's a few of those.
I mean, yeah, there is. Oh man. You want me to pick one? I'm trying to think of all of them. Like,
God,
I don't know.
Apparently, I should preempt. Bad thing is, most of my questions I come up with on the spot. Well, I've been doing this podcast for 2 years now.
Yeah, so like, I don't necessarily have anything out there. Like, I mean, I've seen people throw stuff, or a guy threw a beer can at a cop. Actually, it was a state trooper. Somebody.
That's a really smart idea.
And Arkansas State Police is all over YouTube pitting people out. I mean, but yeah, through something that I think it was a beer can at an Arkansas State Trooper, and we get called out there because they pulled him over in our town to help look for the guy. We try and find him, and it was a weird one. Like, I was at a gas station in front of Walmart, and I heard over the radio that they had found the guy and he was taking off running. Well, what I didn't know until afterwards is he was actually hiding. He took one of those, like, I don't know, like a trash can, like a normal trash can. He kind of just threw it over his head and his feet were sticking out. And I'm like, are you serious right now? Like, right when you see him, like, well, I wound up.
Man pulling some Looney Tunes type shit on you guys.
Well, I'm surprised. The officer that I worked with did see it, and he was just like, he glanced, he saw it, but it didn't register, and he had to like do a double take.
Well, you're not going to think someone's going to be that stupid.
Correct. I actually tripped over a guardrail that night, cut my leg open, and still caught him. Ooh. I have the video to prove it.
I bet the guardrail didn't feel good.
No, it sliced my shin open pretty good.
Did you need stitches after that?
No, I just wrapped it up. It was fine.
That's always good, at least.
I mean, God, I don't even know of anything like that. Was probably a more recent one. That was a couple of years ago because I hadn't even been promoted yet. I don't know if I can think of a really good one off the top. That's just like the funniest one that I can think of. I mean, I've had people pull away from me and I've like, you know what, screw this. I'm just going to tackle you, and I tackle you into a ditch. I mean, just some of the decisions people make blows my mind.
Yeah, see, I used to work at a gas station, and I was assistant store manager. I've met some interesting characters doing stupid things.
And I spent some time at gas stations, and I've probably seen the same thing.
Yeah, I worked at a gas station right by a really bad trailer park. Very drug heavy trailer park, and we called the police almost every other day because someone was high off their ass in our store.
Yeah, I talked to a lady that was geeked out of her mind and was like, "Y'all have my bag." No, we don't. Sorry.
I've seen someone attempt to use the cash register as a fucking stripping table. That was not.
I mean, I've had to kick in a few gas station restroom doors.
Yeah, I've seen a few of those get kicked in.
All because of fentanyl.
Of course it's fentanyl.
Mm-hmm. It's a dangerous drug.
Mm-hmm. I've seen a man, a homeless man. Homeless man was in our bathroom, and he was trying to make homemade ramen noodles in a toilet, in a gas station toilet.
Yeah, that's disgusting.
Man literally went to our shelf, stole the pre-packaged ramen noodles off of our shelf, stole it, went to the bathroom, and in his pocket he had one of those mini blowtorches. He was trying to light the heat up the toilet with it. Trying to make ramen noodles. We called the police, was going to leave, and turns out he was high off his mind off of like 5 different things.
Well, the thing lately has been speedball, so it's heroin and meth, which probably has fentanyl in it. But
yeah,
I mean, I can't think of. I mean, that's probably the most stupidest thing I've seen is a guy trying to hide in a trash can.
Like, at least choose a dumpster.
Haven't seen anybody hide in a dumpster.
I'm just saying, at least try a dumpster, not just a fucking normal trash can they're never going to fit in.
I mean, I don't. Like, I was at my last apartment, and it was like a very high call volume. You learned your job very, very quick. So It was. Dude, I've seen anything from kids murdering other kids and us catching them within like the first hour of it happening, and then to just
you've basically seen it all at this point.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen homeless houses that are, and by houses, I mean like it's ingenuity at its finest is what I can say. I mean, I've seen a brush, and then it's like they've built these like walk through tunnels and have stuff hanging on it. It's like
what the fuck?
it's like an igloo type thing, but with the hallways and
I can't say I've seen that one before.
oh yeah, they're pretty handy with stuff.
So at this point, is there anything on their job that would even phase you?
I don't know if it would phase me. I mean, I do say a lot like, right when you think you've seen it all, you haven't. But I mean, that's all little stuff, but or weird calls that I've been on or something. But
yeah.
I don't think anything would phase me. I mean,
Definitely have druggies one-upping each other on weirdness.
Oh yeah, that's like the highlight. But I mean, like, I don't. I mean, I've been first one on scenes on people getting shot in the face. I've been first on scene on a lot of other different crimes that have been committed, and that are just horrendous. And I mean, at this point, I don't think nothing would surprise me. I mean, unless it's like one of these, like something you see off a movie, serial killers, and have this, plot of land.
I'm pretty sure that'll face almost anyone at that point.
I mean, I don't. I mean, to answer the question honestly, I mean, I don't think there is, but there is always that chance that something could surprise me.
Mm-hmm. So, in their time in the Marine Corps and in their time as law enforcement, what are the pros and cons between the two?
What are the pros and cons of law enforcement and
the Marine Corps?
Military?
Yeah, in the military.
The military is the funnest thing I will never want to do again. I had a blast. But you were told what to do, when to do it, how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Law enforcement, you're taught, and then you're treated as an adult.
Yeah, that's fair.
I mean, I do miss the healthcare. It's, it wasn't the best, but at least I wasn't paying for it.
Yeah.
But I mean, that would probably be the pro to the military. You have that bond, especially with people you went through boot camp with. And then on the flip side of that, police academy is the same thing. So I mean, they kind of mirror each other with pros and cons, except for, I don't, the police, I mean, being a law enforcement, it doesn't really have a con. Well, I take that back. I mean, I could deep dive into this. I mean, you're looked at by the public, and we are not the most liked career path these days. I mean, I did go to a class, and they said like 83% of the 85% of people in America, it was a Gallup poll, 85% of America, like police officers. The other 15% are, like Antifa and all these other shithead places or groups. So, I mean, but the media does blow it up a lot. So, I mean, they make it bigger than what it really is. I mean, for the most part, I've been lucky to work in 2 different towns that, well, I mean, one had a lot of crime, but at the same time, you had a ton of people in that town that still loved us and then that appreciated us. And then in this town, it's not as busy. It's not as call volume wise. It's not busy. And the town I work for now, like, supports police. Like, they support the police department. They try to give them give us whatever we need in order to do our job better. The other town didn't do that. Like, they just recently got a raise, but it was because it was forced, not because they wanted to.
Mm.
So, I mean, besides the public, quote unquote, most, not a lot of them hate us, but it's blown up to be like that is a con to the job. But I mean, for the most part, people love us or love what we do at least. And just like, and I don't know if this is a pro or a con, but like one person messes up in the military, it makes us all look bad. It's the same with law enforcement. So, I mean,
yeah, 100% on that part. And unfortunately, when something blows up over proportions of law enforcement, the media gets a hold of it, unlike the military doesn't really. The media doesn't really get a hold.
Correct. But, and that's another thing. Like, it can be a con in law enforcement. I mean, people always like, when something gets blown out of proportion on the news, it's just like, I'm like, okay, that's just a part of the body camera footage or the car camera footage. Like, what are the other 3 angles to this?
Mm-hmm.
One thing to get taught in the police academy, like, look at this snippet of video. What do you see? And then you're like, oh shit, that looks bad. Like, that officer just and then it shows another one. It's like, it's kind of getting clear. Like, the picture, like the whole picture is getting bigger. And then the third one shows like the dude pulling a gun and the officer having to use deadly force or whatever the case might be. But like, the media only gets one part of it instead of showing the whole picture and like lying to everybody. So, I mean, that has a lot to do with, people hating police officers. But I mean, me, I treat everybody with respect. I mean, I might have to go up here to bring you down here, but I'm not going to stay up here because I'm going to follow you down. I mean, it's de-escalation, but I mean,
unfortunately, the media is a dangerous tool that they don't know how to use.
They don't. Well, they're in it for money, But,
yeah. Just the unfortunate thing about that part.
I mean, I can't think of any more pros and cons. I kind of get off. Brain stop.
So, what made you want to join the Marine Corps?
So a lot of my family on my dad's side was military, and I mean, and a few on my parents' side or on my mom's side. I grew up with my dad being in the Air Force. So I mean, it was my dad only gave me a few things like graduate high school, get a job, or when you graduate high school, you either get a job, go to a tech school, go to college, or join the military. He's like, you're not going to sit your ass at home. So I was like, well, I mean, go big or go home, right?
Yeah.
I didn't want to necessarily follow in his footsteps. I wanted my own path. So I did choose the military, but I chose a different branch. So that was kind of my path into the military. Like, I didn't really excel at anything but computers, and I can barely work my way. I can talk computer talk, but like building a computer, I can figure out how to do a capture card. Audio, no. I about pulled my hair out trying to do this dual PC setup because of audio. I had video working, couldn't get the audio to work. So I mean, unless I was going to go into something like that, which I didn't really. I mean, I graduated in 2003, dude. I turned 40 in April. So it's like,
Yeah.
I mean, computers were kind of becoming a thing back then, like in homes. And I mean, they weren't as big as they are now, where people had
They
these
weren't.
like
They weren't
setups.
cheap either. Back when they first came out, they weren't cheap either.
So I mean, it was something I enjoyed doing, but it wasn't like what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. I've always been active, sports, whatever. Age does play a part in having a dad bod because it's like 40, when you're almost 40. Like,
Yeah.
I'm still active. I just don't work out as much. But like
I
that
mean,
was
being a law enforcement, you almost have to be somewhat active.
true. I mean, there's not a day that I'm at work that my heart rate's probably not under 100. It's normally always over 100 at work.
Yeah. I
mean, not by much, but it normally stays above 100 while I'm at work for 12 hours. So, I mean, it's fine.
You know, it's just no heart attacks waiting to happen.
Twice in a week. It's okay.
Yeah. It's okay.
And they didn't find anything. Had to wear a heart monitor for 2 weeks.
Oh, that's always fun.
Oh, what did you do there? I don't remember. Probably working.
Probably working.
Bro,
your numbers spiked up quite a bit here. It's like, yeah, something happened at work.
More than likely an energy drink. I don't know. Like, you made me wear this for 2 weeks, and then
you expect me to remember every little thing.
And you're like, I don't remember. You just told me to hit the button. You didn't tell me to take notes. Like, come on, man.
I mean, when they're dealing with like first responders, they kind of got to expect that that's going to happen, right? You would think.
I mean, one thing that first responders and military share in common. I mean, nicotine, energy drinks. I mean, awful sleep schedules. So, I mean, I don't know what they want from me.
They want you to be different.
I can tell. I think if I didn't have my military career, though, I wouldn't have gotten as far as I have.
You think you would have dropped out by now?
I don't know if I would have dropped out, but to get where I've been, I don't think without learning the intangibles that I learned from the military, I don't think that I would have been where I'm at, like thinking proactive or, you know, we have a different mindset, like what needs to be done. We don't wait to be told what to do. I mean, some of them do, you know, you got your 10%, but they're there to be there. But most of us that joined the military and made something out of it or made the best out of it were, you know, like.
Well, especially if you went through deployments and stuff too.
Oh, yeah. Like you always had to be on your feet. And that's one thing I have carried since I was in the military. My wife knows exactly where I need to sit when we go to dinner, just like we did tonight. I'm always, somebody comes in the door and I look at them. It's out of habit.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's something that'll probably never go away.
No, at that point, this is drilled into your brain. But how long did you serve in the Marine Corps?
11 years, 10 months, and 28 days is what my DC-214.
Yeah, it's slightly drilled into your brain, only slightly. So what was your favorite and least favorite MRE?
Oh man, we were just talking about this at work the other day because there's a couple guys that are Marine veterans and Army veterans, and I think there's a Navy one too. Anyways, we were talking about it the other night. I can tell you least favorite right off the bat. The omelet one was
That's the omelet. That's our most common one to be said.
That one was pretty gross. And I'd eat some of the other ones.
It's getting to the point that we need to put on a T-shirt and start making money off of it on the podcast.
Absolutely.
I feel like almost every veteran will buy it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Chili Mac was good. Chicken noodle was good. So Chili Mac came with Cheez-Its, so you crush those up. And it took me a couple of years to actually be like an MRE chef. So, like, I used to just eat them cold, and then eventually I started heating them up. Like, so Chili Mac, you get the cheese, you get the Cheez-Its. If you had a buddy, you could trade somebody for like the jalapeno cheese dip. Like, just squish it. Oh, it's so good. Chicken noodle was probably up there with that one. Put the salt in it, and then you'd have to trade somebody your peanut butter for cheese. Oh, it's so good. I didn't really care for. There was one, I don't even know what it was called, but it looked like the McRib. Like, I can't eat McRibs because it reminds me too much of that MRE.
I don't even like the McRibs.
I think it was was it a barbecue? It might have been barbecue rib, and it was the McRib. Like, that's what it looked like.
I'm pretty sure there's a rib MRE, but I thought there was also like a brisket one too.
I think that one came out, but it was like,
I don't know. I never served, so I couldn't tell you.
No, I know there was a brisket one.
Okay, so I'm not being dumb. Okay.
No. I'm pretty sure, but that was like the unicorn.
Wait, how long has stream not been able to hear me?
What?
Oh, apparently the stream can't hear me, but it can hear you. I don't know how long that's been a thing. Hold on. That's awkward. Why is that not an option?
Is it right in your settings?
Well, I'm trying to figure out why my broadcast is not showing up as an actual option. What? Property. Hold on. Bear with me, chat. Okay. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Oh, I take that as a yes, considering I just heard my voice from your side. Oh.
Yep.
I'll take that one's a yes on that one. Okay, yeah, I'm turning down my volume. Cool. I'm glad to hear that everyone heard your amazing voice, but never heard mine. You've been talking to yourself this entire time.
If it's anything, any of my people that follow me, like when I first started out streaming, I streamed from an Xbox. Or I played from an Xbox. I streamed from a computer, so I had a capture card. I always had audio issues, period. Until I switched to just one PC. And then now I'm back doing dual PC again. So now it's like, why am I putting myself through this shit?
Yeah, so I'm chat. I'm happy that you guys didn't tell me until now that I'm making this guy look crazy.
It's fine.
Just completely talking. It's okay. They can get the general gist of what question I asked you by your sayings.
Oh yeah. Maybe I should repeat the question just in case.
Repeats everything that you've said word by word. If you can remember that, go for it. I don't know if you can though.
No, I can't.
I say I can't.
I forget. Like, she'll tell me something. Be like, remind me closer to time. She'll tell me to go do something, and I'll walk halfway to the other room to find something, and I'll be like, "What am I looking for again?"
Hmm. So what was your transition like from military to civilian? Because I know there's a period of time where you didn't even go into law enforcement.
I mean, it was hard to transition because, like, and here's a perfect example, and it might have been partly me and my resume, even though I had it looked at like I don't know how many times, but like I thought because, it could have just been society at the time. Like I got out, I thought I was worth more because I had all these intangibles. But here's the misconception: a lot of people in the civilian world don't like. If I was a business owner, I would love to hire veterans because I know what they're capable of. I know what they can do.
Because you were
Anybody else, it's like, oh, you've been in the military almost 12 years and your communications, but they don't see like the whole like what leadership skills you have because of your rank. Like you start back at ground zero. So like it took me a few months after I got out to realize like, look, I can't just be looking for these $60,000 a month or $60,000 a year jobs. I'm gonna have to go back down to making $30,000 a year, and that's what I had to do. So I mean, and insurance, health insurance was a nightmare. So even though I had the VA, I just never went. I just recently started going a couple of years ago. So
versus going for like law enforcement or something, I feel like law enforcement is a lot more open to the idea of hiring a military, just because they kind of know what to expect from it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I've been on some recruiting boards for my old department that I worked at, and that was like one thing that I tried to push. Like, we had a meeting in the chief's office one day, and I'm like, the town I lived in had an Air Force base in the same town. Like, we went on it all the time to disturbance calls or whatever, or they called us for help or whatever the case might be.
Yeah.
They had a TAPS class that I even went to when I got out. Why aren't we why are we not using that resource?
I mean, it's a perfect fucking resource right there.
They're getting out. They have a job fair, for fuck's sake. Like
they're literally getting out. Why don't we tap into that as a way to get new recruits?
Exactly. And they might be wanting to get away from the military. So I was a recruiter for a few years, right? So
yeah,
I wasn't your typical recruiter, like, oh, hey, come eat crayons and like bang rock like cavemen. Like, you're gonna join. I don't care what you say. Like, I wasn't like that. I'm like, bro, look, what are your plans? Like, tell me what's up. And they tell me their plan. Okay, well, what's your like plan B if that doesn't work out? Oh, I don't know. I'll figure it out. All right, bro. How about this? How about you give me an hour of your time? I'll tell you about it. If you don't like it, so be it. At least you already know what I can offer you. And I had more people. I mean, I did have a lot of people tell me no. That's their prerogative. I'm not going to sit there and force you to. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
I had more people come back after their first semester of college than anything. Like, yeah, college ain't for me, bro. Like, okay, you ready to join? Yep. All right, let's go. I got to re-interview you. It's been a while, so now you can tell me yes. So that was
a lot of college dropouts.
Yeah, and that's why, like, I was like, we need to tap into TAPS. Like, we need to use that resource because they might not want to do it right now because they've been in the military and it might not be something they want to do. But at the same time, at least they have the information and they might come back.
But then also, you might just have that one person that's gun ho to go right into it too.
I mean, the more people you talk to, the better.
Mm-hmm.
So, which is crazy. For one, I never thought I would be doing anything like this. Podcast, streaming. I was the most introverted person you will have ever met if you would have rewound like 10 years ago.
Oh, I can relate to that one. I know, if you ask anyone I know from high school, they would all say I was one of the most introverted, quiet kids, and now I run a podcast. And everyone from high school is just like, when you learn to have a podcast, they're like, "That's not right. That's not you." So yeah. I can relate to that one on that part.
It wasn't until I became a recruiter and they forced my hand, like either sink or swim, bud. Like, you have to talk to people. That's like your whole main purpose. And that's when my wife hates it. I'll talk to anybody. I don't give a shit. I'll go check the mail and I'll be gone for an hour and a half. She'll be like the first time it happened, she's like, "What were you doing?" I was talking to the neighbor. The second time it happened, every time after that, it's been like, I was like, "You don't know what I'm doing?" She goes, "No, you were talking to somebody, weren't you?" Yep, sure was. I know everybody in the neighborhood except for one that just moved in down the road. So
well, there's your goal, to meet that person.
I was going to do it tonight, but I was pulling up after dinner. And I was like, I saw him outside and I was like, no, I got to come in. I'm too busy. So I had to jump on here. I was like, I can't do it right now.
Mm-hmm.
But the thought did cross my mind to go over there. And I was checking.
Saved you.
It did.
So what made you want to get into content creation? Because you also stream.
So I didn't really. I got COVID in 21.
That could be a thing.
It took me a year to get COVID. I was laying in bed scrolling through Facebook, and one of the guys I deployed with, first deployment 2005, was on Facebook streaming. I'm like, "Bro, what the fuck are you doing? Like, what is this?" She's like, "It's streaming." Like, I didn't know anything about the stream. Well, I didn't know shit, but like YouTube, like,
yeah.
And I didn't even, like, I knew it was created content. And
you didn't realize how much of a bigger entity it was, basically.
Yes. Like, I knew what it was, and I knew people created content, edited, and posted it. I didn't know about this live streaming stuff. I was like, what the fuck is this? And he's like, oh, it's this and that. And I'm like, he's like, I'm part of a group called Regiment. And I'm like, wait. I was on day shift then. And I was like, this is pretty interesting. So I started looking into it. I was like,
yeah.
And I mean, I'm just like everybody else. That first time you go live for the very first time, it's like, do I want to push the button? Do I want to do it? I mean, PayPal helped me out a lot because you just pay stuff off as in like 4 easy payments or whatever, or 6 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And so I got the minimal amount of equipment that I could to stream from my Xbox. And that's what I did. And I had Discord because a lot of people use Discord, but I didn't really have a community type base.
Yeah.
It was just like people that joined my Discord so we could talk. It wasn't like a community type thing. I've probably only really been trying to hit like the mental health aspect of it. And I've collabed with a few people. Simon being one of them. What's his tag? Black Sage is his tag. And then Brett, who we collab together all the time now. It's like our kind of like stream team type community stuff.
Yeah.
But she works in a mental health ward. And like the thing we get off of that is like, and we really, me and her and I really need to do a podcast. I haven't done one with her yet. She sees a completely different side than I see. I see it before it gets to her. And then she sees it when she gets to her and then when they get released.
I feel like she would make an interesting guest on the podcast.
It comes full circle. So, I mean, people ask us a lot of questions. I fully believe in mental health. Now, everybody's mental health is different. Obviously, I can take a lot more shit than somebody else. Somebody else can take a lot more shit than me. There's been suicide in my family. I've worked suicides. Like, I've helped veterans in a mental health crisis shortly after I had a family incident with suicide. And then I talked to him for 3 straight hours. He threw Bud Light Chelada on me, which was disgusting. He wanted to unlock the door. Finally, I tried to get in a door and it was locked. And he turned around and he was like, "Oh, you motherfucker!" And comes running at the door and pops the screen door open. I will never forget his face. His face was like, "Oh fuck, I just messed up." There was one step to get into the screened in back porch, and I took that step and I jumped and grabbed him around the neck and hip threw him off the porch and tackled him. We got him into cuffs, and I said the whole 3 hours I was out there, threat after threat after threat after threat. Like, there's no telling how many felonies I could have charged this dude with. But I was like, dude, you're drunk, you're high, you're a veteran. I'm taking you to the VA. You are not getting charged.
You're getting help
instead. And that's what we did. And I even asked my boss. I turned around and I looked at her and I said, I'm following him 25 minutes to 2 towns over to the VA hospital, and made sure he got in his room, sat in the room, told him my story about what I had just went through. I've tried to find him just to see how he was doing, but I haven't had any luck with that. But I mean, like,
I hope
that's why I do the job that I do. That right there is a perfect example. One of the perfect examples of why I do my job is helping people in that way. And it's not just him. He was a veteran, but I've helped. I was in the revenue office on a call one day, a medical call. Some old guy was losing his mind or something like that. And I went to walk out, and the guy was like, "Hey, can I talk to you?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure. I got a second." I was like, "What's up?" He goes, "Thank you." And I said, "Thank you for what?" Like, I didn't recognize him. He goes, "You're the one that saved my life." Like, obviously he would know who I am, but I deal with so many people. And then once he told me his name and where he lived, like, the name rang a bell. I'm like, "All right, what was your address?" Because I was better at addresses if I knew you. Like, "Oh yeah, I've been there several times."
Yeah.
It's like, "You saved my life. You Narcaned me twice on 2 separate incidences, and then he's been clean for 4 years since then." He's like, and he remembers me talking to him, and I vaguely remember talking to him because I've talked to a lot of people in shitty situations. And once he started talking about it, the wheels started turning. Like, I do remember you. Like, every drug addict I'm out with, or somebody that's OD'd or whatever, and I've had to Narcan, I'm like, "Look, bro, you can come back from this." And he had his girlfriend there with him. I mean, it was just like, he was clean, like, on the straight and narrow. I was like, and I told him, I said, "Look, dude, You are why I do my job. This right here, this interaction right here is why I do my job. So,
Yeah. Would
probably
you
went off on it.
do you have any advice for someone that's wanting to go into the military?
It is what you make it. It is what you make of it. It's gonna suck, but I can guarantee you're gonna laugh at everything after it's over. It what I tell everybody, and I've already said it once before, at least once, like it's the funnest thing you will never want to do again. I mean, they teach you everything. They build you. They tear you down to build you back up. You're pretty much being reborn per se. Like I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, most people at work, some people just keep the same attitude. I mean, I don't think I changed because I kind of still had that same mindset, like because I was kind of instilled with it with my dad being in the Air Force.
Yeah.
Respect, all that other stuff, but like the thinking forward and stuff like that. So being more proactive in thinking instead of reactive in thinking. But I mean, it is what you make of it. If you want it to be a good time of your life, make it a good time. It's all what you make of it. And you can do it. Thousands of people have done it before you. You can do it. You just have to.
You any advice for someone wanting to become a first responder?
What was that?
You have any advice for someone wanting to become a first responder?
If it's something you want to do it. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say it's for everybody. A lot of people say, yeah, I want to do it, and then find out it's not for them. If that's the case, that's the case. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and try to keep you in it if it's not for you.
Well, yeah. Well, you can decide that one.
Right. But if it is something for you and you find out it's something for you, you are, I'm kind of a realist when it comes to this. You are going to see shit that people don't normally see. And I know there was a study done, like people only go through, the normal person, the average person only goes through like 2 or 3, maybe not even that. I think it's like 1 or 2 serious life-changing events or traumatic events in their life. And we go through it on a daily basis, or could go through it on a daily basis. Like we just see a lot more than your average person. So like, if you need to talk to somebody, if you've been in a situation, talk to somebody. It'll help you out. It'll help you through your career. If you've been in the military, use the traits that they taught you. Use your military training. That's what I've done. I made it to staff sergeant. I use my leadership skills every day, even as an officer. But I think a lot of my officers that I work with knew that I was a supervisor, knew that I was a supervisor in the military. So they're like, and I have police departments in general are very young. You have a lot more rookies than you do veterans. So like I've learned a lot in my 6 years. I'm not a rookie, but I'm also not a veteran. I am becoming a veteran because the ones above me, that list is getting shorter. Because not a lot of people will stay in this profession a long time. So, and I was fortunate enough to be at a department that was high call volume, and I learned real quick like that because I did it day in and day out repetitively. So, and that's how I learned, which is good. But I mean, you just got to keep your head on straight. If you're married, you have to have a partner that supports you in it. I mean, it's just like the military. You're going to miss birthdays. You're going to miss Christmases. You're going to miss holidays. You're going to miss. You won't necessarily miss a birth, just like in the military, unless you were deployed. And even then, some branch of services let you fly back. But I mean, if you're looking for something close to the military, that law enforcement's where it's at.
Also, the only ones that come to mind is really law enforcement and security.
Yeah.
Ones that really come to mind.
Yeah, it's you just got to have your head in the right place. You always have to think positive. And you can ask any of the guys or any of the people in my community, like, and I've come up with this thought process of like, look, this is how I operate. I have to take the good out of everything. Like if I don't, my dad told me, if you can't change what you're worried about right then, why are you worrying about it? Like if you can't make any changes, it's going to be the same. Why are you stressing yourself out?
100%.
You have to think positive. And I know it sucks. Some people say it's, what is it? Like reverse positivity or some shit like that. I don't know. It's some propaganda bullshit. If you think positive, I've lived it. I mean, I'm almost 40. I've done this all my whole life. Like if you think positive, and I can do this on a small scale. Like when I wanted to recruit duty, I didn't want recruiting duty, but I didn't want drill instructor either. But when I went on recruit duty, I wanted Arkansas. Okay, well, I wanted to get back home. I got Arkansas. I didn't want the town. I didn't get the town I wanted. I got a shitty town, but at least I was back home. Yeah. And I was only an hour away. It could have been worse. So, I mean, you just have to. I've come up with mind shift matters. Like if you shift your mindset to be positive, things will be positive. Not all the time. It's not fucking all unicorns and fucking rainbows. But, you know, if you just change your way of thinking, that does matter.
Try to have a positive outlook on the deck of cards life hands you every day, basically.
If you're going to sit there and ponder on it and be like, oh, this sucks and blah, 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 like that's what you're going to live.
And then that stuff only builds up and builds up and builds up until you do hit your sum for a breaking point.
Correct. If you think positive, you surround yourself with the same like-minded people. If you keep staying around people that are negative, you're going to think negative. And that's a proven fact. There's studies on that. If you surround yourself with positive people, you're going to think positive. You're going to have a healthier mindset.
Well, yeah, it's been proven that people that you're around basically turn into those people. Like, it's been proven that if you move to a different state, you start developing that state's accent or country's accent. Like, your body just subconsciously reverses into whatever people you're near.
Well, I mean, like I grew up in the South, and people tell me I don't have a Southern draw or that bad of one. I was born in Texas. I was raised in Arkansas. Like I've been all over the South. I've moved from Arkansas to California to DC to. I mean, I've been everywhere.
Been around.
So,
what's it like living in California?
Awful.
I bet. I went to California once, and I was I went there to visit a friend and for a podcast thing, and fucking Christ, I don't know how people live there. It's nice to visit. I don't understand how people live there though.
So again, going with my mindset, I knew I wasn't staying there. It was more of like an extended stay. Excuse me.
Yours was a deployment then, right? Or station.
Yeah, I was stationed there for 3 years. So like I knew I was going to be moving out of there. And it's now I lived in Southern California, so it wasn't like I got to see anything north of LA. LA's a shitty place.
Yeah, I was up in the San Diego area.
So I was just north. I was 45 minutes north in Camp Pendleton. So San Diego's beautiful. Like it was nice. You got to see stuff. I mean, there was all 4 seasons in that state. Because you had like Big Bear, an hour and a half, 2 hours away. You can go skiing almost any time of the year. You know, you had the beach. You had all these natural hiking trails and stuff. You had everything there. But I knew I wasn't going to live there. Like it was temporary. So like, I mean, I didn't mind living there. I mean, people are assholes there, probably because there's more people there than anywhere. But I mean, I didn't mind it. I just know I would never want to live there.
The one thing that I found interesting. I live in Minnesota, so when I went to California for the first time, it was weird to me because literally, when you go into like a gas station or something, like all their hot foods locked behind hot cases, and you can't grab yourself. You have the axe and everything. It's a lot weirder environment because here I'm used to just grabbing it and walking up to the cash register.
It's a different world.
Mm-hmm. Also, their driving is horrible.
Correct.
Their driving is horrendous.
3 hours to drive what would be a 45-minute drive turns into like 3 hours. It's awful. I made the drive from Camp Pendleton to San Diego.
Another experience I had, I was in one of the smallerish towns near San Diego, and I went. Me and my friend, we went for a walk, and I was offered drugs like 6 different times, and I was like, "No, this is not a common thing in Minnesota that you just get offered drugs on the side of the street, openly."
It wasn't much of a culture shock to me just because I'd traveled most of my life anyways. So it wasn't like nothing surprised me at that point. But yeah, San Diego's huge, but there's like, you don't know where San Diego ends and another suburb begins. Like there's no, it all looks like San Diego from the air.
Yeah. No, for me, it was definitely an interesting experience because outside of Minnesota, I've been to North Dakota, South Dakota, and like a few national parks. So when I went to, and it's my first time flying by myself, first time ever traveling by myself. So when I went to California, I feel like California was not the best place to pick as my first place to go by myself, but I did it.
Go big or go home.
I mean, yeah, LA airport's fucking nightmare.
Funny story about LA airport. I was supposed to fly out of San Diego. There was a storm back in Arkansas. I was supposed to land in Little Rock. So they canceled all the flights. I was like, you got to be kidding me. So I called the airline company and I was like, look, you got to get me the fuck home like right now. Like you don't understand. It was like a family emergency or something. I was like, yeah, I got to go. They're like, well, is there another airport near you? And I'm like, I'm 2 hours from LA. They're like, well, we have a flight leaving in like 2.5 hours. Can you make it? And I'm like, I'll try. Well, the buddy that had dropped me off was like 2/3 of the way back to Camp Pendleton. So I called him. I'm like, bro, you need to turn around. He's like, why? I'm like, they canceled my flight. I need you to take me to LA. He's like, what? I was like, this is our time frame. He goes, I'm on my way. Without getting pulled over, we did 100 all the way there on I-5. And I get there, I walk in, he drops me off, I grab my shit. I walk in and I go to one of the security guards. I'm like, I'm about to miss my flight. He goes, why are you waiting so long? I was like, bro, I just fucking drove from San Diego up here to catch this flight. Like my other flight was canceled. He's like, oh, okay, sorry. And they literally walked me through security, and then we ran all the way to my plane, and I caught it just in time.
I was about to
seconds
say,
before.
if you didn't do that bullshit, TSA would have had you stuck there in a loop for a bit.
Oh, and the line was super long. Like everybody's like, "What? Why'd he get a cut?" Like my plane's about to leave. I'm military. Like I got to go.
Well, yeah, when I went to so my flight home. I had like the earliest flight you can do. So I came in the airport at like fucking 3:34 a.m. 3:34 a.m. TSA opened at 4:30. So I was one of the first people at 3 a.m. though. There was a line for TSA going across the entire fucking lobby already, and I'm just like, okay, I came here early to dodge the line. But versus when Minneapolis flying out to California, Minneapolis, there was no line at all.
Oh, Little Rock's the same way. Like you go into Little Rock, you walk straight to the thing and you board. Like the check-in line to get through security is not that
like,
long.
In Minneapolis, I was the first person at TSA, and I just went right through. Just went right through. Fucking LA, I was like the 200 person in line. I'm just like, okay, airport's not even open yet.
Well, LA's an international airport. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, so is Minneapolis.
See, Little Rock's a national airport, so I know they close for a fact.
Yeah, Minneapolis.
Morning, 1 o'clock, there's a plane flying out.
Yeah, Minneapolis is international, but they do close. They but they open up at like 3 a.m. So they close at midnight and open at 3 a.m. So they're only closed for like 3 hours. I mean, at that you can just fly in a completely new flight schedule.
Yeah.
Like they literally only close for like 3 hours, and it takes janitorial probably just that amount of time to clean up for the night.
That's probably what they only do it for.
Yeah.
I know I've flown out of Baltimore before. I know they're international because we flew into Baltimore and then left and landed in Germany. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then there was like a 5-hour layover in Germany. It was awful.
I experienced layovers. I had on my way to LA, I had a 3-hour layover in Denver. There's nothing to do in Denver Airport. Denver Airport. What?
My wife I closed the doors to the office and we have glass so you can see through it. She comes and looks at me and is like, I'm like, leave me alone.
You running on time limit here?
Maybe. I know what she wants. She can put rub. That is a difficult thing that I've learned in the streaming / podcasting, that I don't do as much podcasting as I want to do because I don't want to miss out on the games. But like the streaming and the editing, balancing work and family, like it's.
I know how that goes.
It's a legit nightmare.
My life is a balancing act because so I have a full-time job, but then I also have my own streams. I have my own friend groups to hang out with, but then also I have my podcast, but my podcast is also now a company. Like it's a legit company now. I have employees and everything. So I have a whole business side to take care of. And then I have my personal life, and then I have my full-time job and also my streaming on the side.
Yeah.
I know how that balancing act works.
Took me a while to get used to trying to the logistical nightmare behind it. Mm-hmm. And I just got into editing. Like I used to just play and have a community and we just have fun together. And then it turned into, I met Britt and she's like, bro, you really need to start editing and get more people in here. Like, you would be good at it. And so I've recently started to edit. I've slacked off a little bit just because of I'm on day shift now. So like my schedule rotates. So every 3 months I'll go from days to nights or nights to days. So 3 months days, 3 months nights, back to 3 months days. I'm lucky this time that I was on 3 months of nights. I'm only on a month of days and go back to 2 months of nights. Nights is where it's at. I stream all night. I edit at the end, and then I post. I sleep during the day. When they're gone, I wake up before they leave. We have family time. Like, it's a whole lot easier to manage. Day shift, I actually have to adult. So I got doctor's appointments. Like, I still got to go to the VA that I haven't done yet. Because it's not like a scheduled appointment. It's just like, hey, come get your x-rays when you want to come in, like Monday through Friday, 8 to 4, whatever. It works better when it's an appointment because I know I can't miss it, but I won't procrastinate the fuck out of it. So it's been a nightmare being on days, and it always has been. It always will be because, you know, that's just the way it is. You have to adult. It's life.
Yeah. You know, the same thing about the podcast. We started on every other week, and now we do 2 episodes a week. We started every other, and then we transitioned to once a week, and now we do 2 episodes a week.
Nice. I've done one, and that was with Simon, who is like a caseworker, but more like a counselor caseworker type.
Yeah.
Like, he sees a different side than what me or Brett see. And I've been wanting to get both of them on to figure it out. Like, just to Q&A, like, what are your stories? Like, let's dive into 100%. This. So, that might be something that, you know, have all 3 of us on here. I mean, I'm sure they'd be up for it. I know Brett for sure would be, and I'm pretty positive Simon would be. I haven't talked to him in a while, but but yeah,
keep that in mind. Because as you know, from me scheduling you know we're pretty scheduled out with months in advance.
Bro, like, if you wouldn't have reminded me, I probably would have forgot.
Like, right now, for example, I'm starting July right now.
Like, it's been so fucking crazy busy. Life in general, besides just changing jobs.
Well, yeah, I always try to remind my guests, especially my first responder and active duty guests, because within a split second, that active duty guest could have got deployed at the time that we scheduled that episode.
Right.
It really can be a pain because I've had at least 2 guests cancel on me because they got deployed, which, you know, understandable. I booked you out like 3 months in advance. That's pretty understandable. Right.
Well, I knew we had scheduled it. I just couldn't remember. And I knew it was in March. And that was about it. So when you told me today, I was like, babe, what's time's dinner? Time to get back?
No, I was like, I'm a really flexible person, so I can easily change times and dates pretty easily.
Yeah.
At least I try to be really flexible.
Especially for your guests that you do interview. It's that's a good trait to have.
I've learned to be pretty flexible in the form of content creation.
We call it Super Gumby in the Marine Corps. Always flexible.
But then also, a lot of my flexibility just comes from being assistant store manager back when I worked retail.
Yeah.
A lot of my flexibility comes back from management, and I just use those skills into the podcast.
What you learn in life, you can use in almost anything.
And then for me, also having a manager mindset and talking to like investors and stuff, it gave me a more open world view of the future of the podcast before the podcast was going into that direction.
Right.
So there's definitely a lot of pros I took. I hated retail, but there's definitely a lot of pros I took with me leaving retail. Now I work in manufacturing.
Yeah, my wife's told me I could quit my job, and I'm just like, I can't do that. I'm sorry. She's like, you can stream full time, and I'm like, like I would love to do that. I love what I do. I don't want to get away from it yet. Now, when I retire in 15 more years, yes, absolutely, I'll do it.
Yeah, I'm a painter in metal manufacturing. I love my job personally, and it would take a lot for me to leave my job, but the one thing that would make me leave my job would be if this podcast ever went full time. Because this podcast is my passion right now.
Right. And my wife said, she's like, I love that you have a hobby that you enjoy. So, I mean, this is really a hobby to me, but
Yeah.
I say it's a hobby. It's more than a hobby, but it's like,
people don't realize when they first start out, they don't realize how much fucking work actually goes into this shit to actually make it somewhere.
Yeah. I mean, I just do it to spread the word of mental health because I'm around it every day. And I've had, like I said, family emergencies with suicide and deaths in the family and having a stressful job and having a balancing act. Like I know what goes into like being mentally stable or trying to be.
100%.
So it's like that's what my community is based on. And I know a lot of people are preaching mental health, but it's like if you like what my community is, then good, great. I mean, we're here. I mean, everybody knows how to get a hold of each other. And if you need somebody to talk to, call them. There's always going to be somebody available in my chat. Trust me. So, and that just started a year ago, roughly. Probably about the time I switched from Twitch to Kick is when we really started building Discord. And then it grew even more when me and Britt decided to team up. So, and we met through somebody else that was in my Discord, and she's like, y'all would be a fucking awesome team together. And then, we played a lot together. And then finally she was like, we need to do our own thing, collab with you and me, all the time. I said, okay, bet, let's do it. But it's a good vibe, which is funny because she's a huge pot smoker and I'm a cop. So it's it's like, what fuck is going on?
Yeah, I feel that one. There's someone I co-stream a lot with. Her name's Scary, and we just have that perfect energy for a co-stream. And right now we haven't co-streamed in a while, but she's having major PC issues and computer blue screens every time she even tries to stream. So she's having to get a new rig and everything.
Oh wow, that sucks.
Yeah, so she hasn't been able to stream in 6 months, unfortunately.
Oh God, the first time I switched to day shift from nights after I started streaming on nights, I streamed 3 times in 3 months, and I did not like that. And I'm like, I don't care what I have to do. I'm going to keep a consistent stream schedule. And I have so far, except for today. It went to shit because first time I've streamed on a dual PC setup in a while. So OBS wanted to crash. Call of Duty wanted to kick me out and completely restart. I had to restart my stream. It was pushing my buttons today.
Yeah, I have a stream schedule. So we do the podcast on Wednesdays and Saturdays, and then I do my personal streams on Tuesdays and Sundays.
Yeah, I need to figure out something like that. Oh, surprise. Oops.
I admit there's times I cancel one of my personal streams just because of the fact scheduling in 4 days a week for a stream and then running a company can be a little difficult. So there's a few times I cancel my main streams just because it's not my priority.
Right. No, I get it.
The podcast, something had to force my hand for me to cancel a podcast episode because if something comes up on my end, I have like 6 backup co-hosts that could fill in as a host if need be. Because there's been a few Asylum Arms episodes where I'm not even a part of it. So I'm happy I've gotten to the point to where I have a team that I can hand over the mantle if needed whenever.
Takes less stress off of you.
Like fucking like when I first started this, I never thought I would have built a team as large as we have it, and I would never have thought I would have the team that I have. So I just started this podcast thinking it was going to go nowhere, and here we are in episode fucking 82. 2 years into it with 3 sponsorships that backing us, and we're partnered with a nonprofit charity. We're actually making income. Never did I thought it would come to that point.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, we're partnered with a nonprofit called Project Refit, and they do these mental health retreats, and their whole thing is mental health and suicide awareness for veterans and first responders.
Another part of my background is I have 2 special needs kids. One's autistic, one's ODD, oppositional defiant disorder. It's bipolar in a kid. They just don't want to call it bipolar.
Yeah.
So like that, the mental health aspect of that also plays into it. So like more times than I can count, not knowing it offhand, like that has played a part in it. Like I get asked questions about it all the time. So it's like that plays a part into like the whole suicide, autism, mental health awareness stuff that I try and push. So
for me, mental health was always a big thing for me just because of I have a lot of veteran friends and military friends and first responder friends, but then also I went to a pretty not good school system. I've had a few friends OD in my time. I've lost a few people to overdosing.
I hear you.
Yeah, so
a lot of people that I went to school with have either been through rehab or still hooked on drugs. So
yeah, so mental health has always been a really big thing on me just because of my childhood and what school I went to.
Well, I don't mean to cut this short, but she's already texted me.
Do you have any questions for me at all?
No, I mean, thanks for having me on. I mean, anytime you want me back, just let me know. I mean, I know you're scheduled way far out till July. But,
also, before you leave, where can people find you?
Twitter, everything's the same. Bacon Operator, BACNOPER8OR. It would be the tag. It's my gamer tag on COD, but you can find me on Twitter, Kick. I do have a Twitch account, but I'm hardly ever on it. Discord's the same, or Bacon Nation is the group name, I guess. I do have a TikTok. I've been pushing a whole lot more TikTok to try and funnel people over to Kick. Instagram. I don't really post on Instagram a lot.
It's a thing.
It is. I know a lot of people just like post to Instagram like that's their TikTok, but I've never been able to get into the whole Instagram thing. Like
there's some people that their only source of income is Instagram, and it's insane that people have found a way to make money off Instagram.
Yeah. So I mean, you can find it's Bacon Operator on almost every platform. Like I said, Twitter is probably the best way to get a hold of me, and then Discord, TikTok, Instagram. I have been checking Instagram a lot more often, so but TikTok or Twitter or Discord is pretty much where you can find me. So if anybody wants to do something like this or be a part of the community or whatever, or have questions for me after this, hit me up. I'll be more than happy to answer them. I am on a day schedule, so I still got to go rub my wife's feet tonight. So I'll probably be at 10 o'clock.
All right, guys,
She's
we are
not
going
already
to
asleep.
Bacon Hopper. Thank you for coming on the podcast, man. It was a pleasure having you on.
I truly appreciate you inviting me on. It is the first one I've actually been on that I've been invited to that I've actually talked on. So, it's been an experience. I don't mind doing it. In fact, I've enjoyed the whole Q&A and kind of telling my side of the story. So, I can't thank you enough for having me on.
And guys, today we're going to right into Deadly. He's a past guest of Asylum Arms. Also, Kay in chat says you can come to his podcast when he starts his.
Absolutely.
Kay is also one of my co-hosts of Asylum Arms.
You know how to get a hold of me. I am in your Discord. I have like 500 Discords that I try and check. So, I mean, hit me up on Twitter.
Yeah, the networking is definitely a thing that you need. It's definitely a learning curve, the networking portion of streaming.
The first thing that was said, if you start streaming, get a Twitter network. I
mean, that's how I get half of my guesses from Twitter.
So, by all means, I will open my schedule up, and I'll let me know. I'll definitely be there.
100%, and I'll definitely be reaching out to you for episode 2 in the future.
Oh, absolutely. And I will get with you like after this, probably tomorrow or whatever. Hit me up later about probably bringing in like 2 more people, bringing in Simon and Britt.
100%.
I think that would be a good one. If that's something that you might be interested in.
The Britt was definitely an interesting one because I think she would have an interesting side of things onto Asylum Arms. By the background you gave me.
She works in a mental health facility, and Simon is a counselor in a mental health facility. So they do 2 separate things in the same environment, while I do stuff on the outside before they go there. So
definitely shine a different light onto the podcast that we haven't heard before. I think it would be definitely an interesting thing. I would agree. We've had first responders on. We've had veterans active duty. We've had 1 European veteran. That was an interesting experience.
But it was.
And then we've had CEOs of charity organizations, veteran stuff.
Sweet.
Biggest episode so far was the CEO of Stack Up.
Oh, that was awesome. Hey, I missed that. I was probably working.
Steve, yeah. Well, that episode was a long time ago. That was back like around the time we were first starting out, like episode 30 or 20. That was like episode 22 that we had him on. So like a year and a half ago.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, he was our first major guest, but we also got him on pretty early on, which I was really surprised I was able to land a guest that early on.
Nice.
I mean, granted, I also got sponsored by Audible within episode 6. That was shocking.
Congratulations.
Yeah. You're good, man. You need to get out.
I'm definitely coming to you.
Yeah, been doing this shit for 2 years. I've gotten pretty good at it. You have any audio questions? I'm pretty good at audio.
I would almost bet that I will probably be
I've gotten pretty fucking good at audio with running podcast.
But all right, man. Well, I'm gonna get off here before the wife falls asleep and gets mad at me.
No, you all good, man. I don't want you to wake up dead in the morning.
I won't. I'll tomorrow, but again, like I said, I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to be on here. If you ever need me on in the future, by all means, reach out.
No, 100% will be reaching out.